Hello everyone. In this video, I will show you how can you create chatbot based on the data feed by you. So it is complete responses are completely based on what data is fed to it rather than just some random responses. And here we are using OpenAI API along with Python. So let's get started. First of all, we need to go ahead and install a few of the required modules. And the very first one is GPT index. So I would say pip install GPT index, and this time I'm using Jupyter Notebook inside VS Code, and that's the reason I'm installing everything in this. So let's click on this and it will go ahead and install the required package. So this particular module we will be using to build our vector index, so which will be further used for querying our entire knowledge base. Meanwhile, I will type one more thing. So the another package is LangChain. So pip install LangChain. So this is the module we are using for accessing our OpenAI API. So this one is installed. Let me go ahead and install this module also. Okay, so this one is also done. Next thing is we need to go ahead and import the required libraries. So I would first take it from GPT index. So let's go ahead and say GPT index. And here we need many things. So the first one is simple directory reader. And this is used to read our knowledge base. The next one we need is GPT list index. So let me quickly type it first. This one we are using for indexing our data. And then we have GPT simple vector index. Okay, and this particular thing we are using to load our indexed data. And one more thing two more things which we need is LLM predictor and the prompt. So LLM predictor, this will be used to define which LLM we are using. So LLM stands for large language models. So we will be using this particular thing. And then we have the last one, which is for prompt. So it is prompt helper. So this is mainly used for user prompt, like what will be the message size, what would be the number of tokens, and all those things which we have already seen in my previous videos. Next thing we need to import is OpenAI. So from LangChain, we will say import OpenAI. Okay. Then we need just few basic ones. So import sys and import os, because we need to deal with local file system as well. So till here we are done with our import part. Next thing is we need to define our OpenAPI key, which we will use to store the environment variable. So let's create another code block over here and name it as, or just save it in the environment. And here I would say, let's put everything in caps, API key, and we'll shortly keep something here. So if you're not aware how to grab OpenAPI key, I can quickly show you that thing also. OpenAI.com, click on API, and it will ask you for login. So just go ahead and click on the login button here. Once it is logged in, you can see on the right hand side, click on your name, and here you can see view API keys. You can go ahead and create new key. Otherwise, if you have already made a note of this existing key, then definitely you can go ahead and use it. So I have already written a note of it, so I'm not going with this one. Rather, let's go ahead and start next thing. So now next comes is the knowledge base. So we need some data, we need some knowledge on which our system can run. So here we have few options. So either we can go ahead and download the relevant data from relevant website, or you can also take it from your local machine if you have already stored some data on your local machine. So for this particular example, I'm taking data from a website which is gutenberg.org. So here you can find so many ebooks, so you can quickly go ahead and download it. So one, I have taken it from here and saved it in the text file. I have already created a text file, and this is having some data which I have taken it from one of the ebooks, and the book name is Art of Money Getting. And the one thing to remember here is whatever the data you are getting, just make sure that you are keeping in some directory. In my case, I'm putting it in the knowledge directory. So tomorrow, if there are, let's say, more than one text file, all will be placed in the same folder, so you need not to worry about where they are located. So if you have huge data, I would recommend keep it in multiple files here under the same directory. Okay, so we are done with directory. Next thing we need to do is we need to go ahead and work on the implementation part. So for that, we have to write a function which will I would say, which will take care of creating our vector index. So let me go ahead and add new code block, and I'm going to define a function named create vector index, which will take path. So this path is nothing but the directory in which our data is present. Okay, first thing we need, there are a few parameters which we need to announce here, and the max input size. So let's keep it 4096. Then we need to define how many number of tokens we want to use. So here I would take 256. Then we need chunk size. So chunk size is nothing but how much data you want to grab in one shot. So this is 600. And chunk size is very useful when you are dealing with large language model, because we cannot go ahead and read the entire data in one shot. So that's why we need to define some size. And let's define another one, which is max chunk overlap. And I'm going to set it to 20. Okay, so once these things are defined, we need to, the very important thing is we need to define our prompt. So for that, let's create a variable named prompt helper, which will be using prompt helper class. And here we need to pass in few things. So the first thing is, and you can definitely go here and see what are the required expected parameters by using the IntelliSense. So the first one is the max input. So you can see the first one is max input. Then we need to define what all number of tokens we need. And then we need max chunk overlap, chunk size. And I think here I need to define this as a limit and just say chunk size. Okay, so let me quickly run it because we are not getting all the required IntelliSense. So I will go ahead and execute this. Then we should be able to see all the IntelliSense, and it would be easy for us to type also. Then we need to define language model. So here we will be taking LLM predictor, like I said before, and I will take the variable name same as this. So let's turn it to short lowercase. Okay, so LLM predictor will take what LLM model we want to use. So like I said, we want to go with OpenAI. So give OpenAI. And then we need to define all the parameters which I have discussed in one of my videos: temperature, number of tokens, what is the model you want to use. So all these things I can quickly show you once again. Let me first type it here. And here we need to define the model name, which model we want to use, and the max number of tokens. So max tokens equal to the ones which we have defined. So let me quickly go to the URL again. And so let's go to the playground, and these are the different parameters which we need along with the OpenAI, and these are the models. So you can use any of these models. So we are mainly dealing with text based, so we can go with any 4 of these. So based on what kind of results you want, how much accuracy you want, you can choose it. So either if you are just testing it, you can go with text era 001, which is like less optimized and will give you results close to accurate results, but it could be some discrepancy. But if you are looking for very perfect results, then I would suggest you to go with this one. So let me go with text era 001. This is just for demo purpose, and it's gonna cost me less, so that's the reason I am going with this one. So once the predictor is defined, we need to load the data. So I will just type it something. Okay, for loading the data means that we need to read those text files which we have created. So for that, let's create a variable named docs, and here we will be using simple directory reader, which will take path as a parameter and has a method load data. Okay, we are done with our data loading part. Next thing is we need to start our vector creation. So we will say create vector index. And for that, let's create the same variable name so that it won't be confusing later on. And here we will be using GPT simple vector index, which will take few parameters. The first one is documents, and here we will just say docs, the variable which we have created above. Then it requires LLM predictor, so let's give our predictor. Then it needs prompt helper, so here I will say prompt helper. Okay, let's go ahead and use this vector index and save it to disk, because whatever the vectorized data is, we need to save it somewhere so that we can grab it again while performing the query. And here you need to pass the file name in which your vector index would be stored. So I will say vector index.json, and last line would be simply return vector index. Okay, so we are done with our vector creation part. Let me quickly run it and see if, okay, so before running, I need to grab the key here. So let me quickly grab my key. And I will paste it over here. Let me run it, so that environment variable will get created. Now we can go ahead and click on create vector index. Okay, so it isn't executed successfully. Let's go ahead and verify whether the index is generated or not. So vector index would be the file. Let's see, let's refresh this, and then we can search for the file. Okay, so before looking for the file, I forgot to make a call to this function, so let's go ahead and do that. I would say vector index, and then we need to make a call to this function, which is create vector index. Herein we need to pass our folder name. So knowledge is our folder name. Okay, let me go ahead and execute this. It's going to take a few seconds over here because it is trying to generate the index. So it is saying OpenAI error. Okay, so let me go ahead and let's stop this one. It is happening because references didn't flow properly. So let me go ahead and do this again. Run this, quickly create this function, and then we can go ahead and re-execute this. So you can see that it is successful now. Let me close this one. Let me go ahead and quickly verify whether the file is created. So you can see that it just got created at 11:04, and this is the JSON with 505 KB of data. Okay, so next thing we need to do is we need to go ahead and write a very basic bot. It is basic because I'm not focusing on the UI here and just want to showcase how request and response takes place. So let's write a small function for that. And we will say def answer me. Let's name this function as answer me, which will take vector index, and let me name this as v-index to avoid any kind of confusion. And then we will see use GPT simple vector index to load data from disk, and here we can just pass in the vector index. Okay, next thing we need to do is we want to run this thing until user wants to do. So let's run it as an infinite loop, and I'm saying while it is true. Okay, so till it is true, we will keep asking user that do you want to say something. So we'll say prompt input, and let's say please ask. Okay, and then we want to get the response out of it. So let's create a variable named response. We will use v-index variable to query the output query, and inside that let's pass in prompt, then response mode, which is what type of response you want. So we just want the limited one, so I will just say compact, and go ahead and print the output. So I'm using f string here to print the response and format the string, and inside this we will say response. Let's give one line break here. Okay, we are done with this. Let me execute this and see if there are any errors. Okay, and then comes the final call, wherein we need to make a call to our answer me function. We'll say answer me, and herein I need to pass the file of JSON file, which is the indexed one, and let's quickly run it. Okay, so on the top you can see that it is asking the question that please ask. So I will ask who is the author of this book. And press enter. You can see that response is appearing here. The author of this book is P.T. Barnum. Now let me ask more thing, what this book is all about. And press enter. And you will get some response which is relevant to this book. So you can see the response is this book is all about how to make and keep money. It provides financial independence. So all these things which is coming directly from the book. Now you can ask any question or anything which you want to output rather than you are reading the book, and ask this particular bot to get the responses for you. And it is very useful whenever you want to solve any question based on your textbooks or any of the documents which you have with you, or let's say you have research paper and you want to grasp some summary out of it, then that is one of the best use case, I would say. So this is how you can utilize this. So like I said, this is just a basic bot, so I'm not providing any UI and just going with the default one which is appearing over here. I hope you find this video useful, and do not forget to like it and share it. Thanks for watching.